So what cutoff levels are and how they're used in the family court is about how the interpretation of drugs found in the hair is explained to the family court. So you will have a report that says 50 picograms of milligrams of cocaine was found in the hair. And a cutoff level is an entirely arbitrary line. And it says above this line, it means use, and below this line, it means exposure. So if you're above the line, they'll say it's positive for use. If it's below the cutoff level, it's negative for use. And cutoff levels are one of the most dangerous, in my view, ways of interpreting drugs found in hair, and one of the biggest areas where the industry has to change, because there are so many different things that affect the way that drugs are incorporated into the hair that have nothing to do with use.
If it is above the cutoff, the automatic interpretation is they're a chronic user of that drug. And that in itself is misleading.
The interpretation of drugs found in the hair is expert or opinion evidence. That's what the courts tell us. And some companies will analyse or explain the presence of drugs within the hair with reference to a cutoff level, which is a standardised line. It's above this cutoff level or it's below this cutoff level, which is very binary and deeply flawed.
The way in which they report a result, the industry typically, if it is below the cutoff, is not detected or negative. When a high proportion of those samples actually do contain drug and metabolite, are simply below a level, therefore they won't report that. And that in itself it causes all sorts of issues when my duty to the court is to report all the findings. It's not for me to say it's not relevant to the court. I don't know what's relevant to the court. What we have to do is report what we find and use our knowledge and experience to explain what we think it means. It's remained as a single point of reference in the industry. Most laboratories receive a hair sample. They test it, they have no context, they don't know what's influenced it, and therefore they report it based on the numbers.
Someone with red hair has less melanin, and drugs are incorporated some drugs are incorporated into the hair by melanin. And if you look at this diagram, the number for someone with red hair is 66, thereabouts. And the number for someone with black hair is 1,000, over 1,000. Now, this is the same drug taken at the same time, in the same way, over the same period of time, which means someone with black or brown hair would be positive, and someone with blonde or red hair is negative, and they've taken the same amount of drugs. Now, if nothing else, this research should mean that cutoff levels fail, because they discriminate against people with black and brown hair. So they discriminate against people from black and ethnic minorities, and they're not giving you a fair picture, because the same, if you are lucky enough to have my colour hair, get away with using drugs. If you're Indian or Afro-Caribbean, you can't. So if nothing else, that is why cutoffs fail. But when you're interpreting or bringing an expert opinion into the interpretation of hair strand testing, and you're doing it with reference to a line that's 30 years old and hasn't been reflected to account for scientific developments in this area, it's plainly too blunt an instrument. Because what cutoffs don't do is factor in the context that the case law says that we must factor in. And there are so many different things that can affect why drugs are found in the hair. Environment, swimming, hair products. There's a long list. And if you're just saying above the cutoff, computer says yes, below the cutoff, no, you're failing in doing a proper or giving a proper expert analysis of what drugs found in the hair mean. And that would lead to miscarriages of justice.
Over the last 30 years, the amount of work that's done and the amount of publications supporting these factors and our own data over the last 15 years clearly shows that the number in the hair is somewhat meaningless until you understand the bigger picture in that particular case. All this information and evidence, when it's presented by the industry, they've tried to simplify it to such a level that it's very easy to comprehend. The problem is the oversimplification then becomes very misleading.